What up, and welcome back to another Malazan Book of the Fallen video. This is me splicing in a new intro on the super long segment of chapters 21 and 22 that I recorded over the weekend. So let's get into the chapters. What we find out is that Lorne goes into Lady Simtal's house and sneaks into the backyard where the fete's going to be. She plants his little finesse in the ground to like get it away from her, but just have him lured basically to the party that night to wreak havoc on everything. She's doing her like standard second guessing that she's been doing for like the last 8 to 10 chapters of like, what are we doing? But at the same time, she's still all about finding and taking down the coin bearer for meddling in their stuff. She's like, you know, basically we know about Shadow Throne and all this other stuff. We don't need anything from you. We want Darujhistan. We can get it ourselves. We'll take down Rake ourselves. You get a bit of Krupp's internal monologue, right? Where he basically knows that Crocus is being used by Oppen, but he also knows that like Cowl and the Crimson Guard are there like defending him. He basically knows his cover's blown too. Like he magicked Marulio away, but essentially if Marulio can figure it out, then other people are on the cusp of figuring that out too. But he thinks like as long as he can like get through tonight, then he'll be able to like realize the culmination of all of his planning. He's gonna like send Circle Breaker away, and oh yeah, we saw also a lot earlier, which I forgot to mention, but Circle Breaker basically saw Lorne come into the city when she originally came in and found the bridge burners, and weasels his way onto the guard as well at Lady Simtal's fete that night. We get a lot more like weird, awkward, youthful interaction between Crocus and Apsalar. He's trying to go off and confront Chalice. But yeah, like Crocus is just such a weird dude because like Apsalar is like so nice to him, like to the point of almost like hitting on him. And then he like responds by either being like super awkward or pissed off. Yeah, I don't know. He's just like this confused dude. Because it seems like he actually likes her too, but for whatever reason, he just like responds to her niceness by being a dick. So then we actually show up at the fete with the bridge burners, right? And so Quick Ben is sensing all the like fighting, I think, between Race and the dragons out on the plains, and telling Whiskey Jack like there's some serious going down, but none of us could like access our warren because then the tyrant would just like do a beeline straight for us to try and take our power or enslave us or whatever. Ganos and Callum are basically out there trying to intercept Lorne at Lady Simtal's, and Ganos is kind of gonna like pop out and be like, what up, Lorne? And try and surprise her so that Callum can like jump in and take her down. But he also puts out like one last try for a hit, and he's like telling the people at the Phoenix Inn, like, yo, tell your homies from the Assassin's Guild, like, we want them taken down, meet me at Simtal's, etc. And then they roll out to basically take down Lorne. So then we go to the kind of entrance to the party, right? And Baruch the alchemist is showing up with Animander Rake, who's like wearing a mask that's like of a black dragon with silver hair, so super not subtle. He points out Krupp to Animander Rake and basically says that's the eel, like Darujhistan's top spy. So he obviously figured that out too. And Rake's like, what, that fat pig? Yeah, pretty funny. But then Krupp actually like rolls up and chit chats with him, and he like shows Rake at least that he knows like a lot more even than Baruch does about him and just about events and stuff. And so Animander Rake was like, oh dude, that guy's serious. Then we get some internal monologue basically from Turban Orr at the fete. He's like waiting to hear back from Ocelot that Cole is dead, right? Because when Ralik Nam and Ocelot were scrapping, Ocelot had been in the process essentially of taking out Cole and assassinating him. And so as he's sitting there like waiting, pondering and whatever, he like glances over at Circle Breaker, who is a guard obviously at the party that night because he weaseled his way onto the guard too. And he realizes like this is the guy who's been spying on me like all these years when I've been doing all these secret meetings and whatever. He's right about to call him out, and just as he does, like Ralik Nam shows shows up and challenges him to a duel. And he does it in like such a badass way too. And he's like, yeah, stop all your like chit chat and bullshit talking, and like, Turban Orr's like trying to do, put on this show and maneuver politically by bringing all these different people in and whatever. And he's like, just shut your mouth and die and whatever. Meanwhile, like Marulio is distracting Lady Simtal because, again, he's like the ladies' man that all the chicks love or whatever. And so he like kind of seduces her to take her, off the board essentially, so that she wouldn't stop this like childish duel. And that's kind of like the ultimate plan, right? Is because like Lady Simtal's core of power essentially only rests on Turban Orr. So by letting Rallick Nom challenge him to a duel and get away with killing him, then she's basically toast. For whatever reason, Animander Rake, and I think it's just because Turban Orr's such a little bitch, but agrees to be Rallick Nom's like second in the duel, and also throws mad shade at Turban Orr for being a little bee. It's pretty funny. Meanwhile, the bridge burners like immediately notice Animander Rake. They're like, oh, we're screwed. They get ready to like blow everything up, right? Because they're like, our plan is toast. We just need to blow all this up. Especially because no one can use their warrens because that Jagat is like super close by to the city. But basically the duel doesn't last long because Rallick rolls in, zero given as he's like charging in. He just pulls out like his little dagger and like friggin' stabs him in the chest and in the head and whatever. Then he goes and finds Marulio and Lady Simtal. They leave her as basically being and he leaves her like a little dagger that she can go ahead and use to commit suicide because she essentially knows she's done now because Counselor Lim, Rallick already assassinated, and then now her other, half of her power from Turban Orr is dead too. So mission accomplished. They took Simtal down through seduction and then assassination. It was pretty savage. So then we pick back up with Race, right? Who's totally jacked. He gets like roped into one of Krupp's dreams and he totally unloads on Krupp and thinks he can just totally destroy him. But Krupp is like basically immune to him in his dream and just like sits there and takes it. And he's like, yeah, what up? That was easy. But while he's doing this, like Krupp had pulled Onos Tuulin into his dream too, who comes in and basically takes him down with the flint sword. Krull is also in Krupp's dream. And actually, Krull was helping Tool to defeat Race. And Race is like, what the hell? Like, I'm invincible. What's going on? And Krull, like, basically explains, like, the tables have turned now that, like, the humans rule the gods, essentially. And I think this is basically a shout out to kind of how the magic system works, or how the pantheon works in the Malazan world, right? Because the gods essentially draw power from their worshippers. That's one of the reasons why Krull never really had power up until what's his name, Talo Kafar, got assassinated on his belfry and kind of reconsecrated Krull back into the game. And so he's like, what? That's bullshit. How could this have happened? I'll never be taken alive. And basically he's able to like body jump. Raced is able to body jump out of his body and basically take over Mammot as a slave. But before he does that, actually, there's also like a really important exchange for later on where Krull like announces himself as the Maker and as this like, elder god essentially. And Race is like, what? You went into chaos like a long time ago. He's like, yeah, but I got called back to this world basically because my stuff got reconsecrated. But he's like, dude, you have two choices essentially. You can either like come with me back into chaos, or you can stay here and like die through this Talon Imas who's about to take you down. And so then we jump back to the fete in Lady Simtal's backyard, essentially. Ganos Perrin and Callum basically find Sari / Absalar out by this like new stump that's growing because Crocus had left her there when he goes to do his thing with Chalice, right? And Callum's like getting ready to take her down, and Ganos is like, whoa, something. He recognizes immediately that like something has changed with Sari, and she's not this like cold-blooded killer. She kind of remembers killing him back in the day, and that's how he's like, dude, yeah, something is definitely different here. They're like all tripping out on this new stump that's growing up out of where Lorne had planted the finesse earlier in the earlier chapters. Vorkin shows up and has a little like one-on-one meeting with Ralik Nam and tells him to go ahead and take the meet with Callum. And so he goes over to the backyard to find out what are the terms of the deal, essentially. Oh, and I should mention, too, that Crocus totally, like, basically gets laughed at and shunned by Chalice when he meets her at the fete. And so he just, like, basically tucks tail between his legs and rolls back out to find Apsalar. Mallet shows up because Ganos gets Mallet to come over and, like, heal Sari to the best of his ability, just because she's, like, clearly jacked up from having Cotillion be ripped out of her body. And while he's healing her, he kind of realizes that, like, the Wax Witch from the very beginning chapters was, like, in there and kind of protecting her the whole time, and just kind of lets her do her thing. Then Vorkin and Ralik actually show up, like, at this stump, and Callum lays out the whole deal. Like, look, we'll give you, like, 100,000 gold, jacatas for each of the major leaders that you take down. She's like, so you're really going to give me 900,000? He's like, yeah, if there's 9 of them, then that's how much we're going to give you. So Vorkin agrees to take on the contract, right? And she's this, like, badass assassin mage wizard chick. But she leaves Ralik behind because for whatever reason, since he rubbed all that Odotarl dust into his body, he's, like, able to kind of, like, keep that stump thing from the finesse in check. Ralik's actually not super pumped that Vorkin took on this contract, but he can't leave, and she is his boss ultimately. But he does tell Crocus, like, look, go warn your uncle, go warn Baruch the High Alchemist that she's coming to take them down. Unfortunately, it's a little too late for Uncle Mamat because he's been inhabited by Race, right? And just starts straight up fucking shit up at this party. Okay, so that's basically where we leave off as things are coming to a head in 23 and 24. So we'll go ahead and leave this video there. So we'll be back in a couple of days with the ultimate conclusion of Gardens of the Moon. I hope you like these more pared down videos where we're going chapter by chapter. That's how we'll start progressing through Deadhouse Gates. But let me know down in the comments if you're into it or what you think or whatever. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching. If you like it, give it that thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And until then, happy reading.